In 2000, Sega released an interesting type of racing game to the arcades. A game where the goal wasn't necessarily to get first place, but to get to the finish line with the cargo you're carrying. Oh, and did I mention that you're driving a big rig? I'm of course talking about 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker. With simple yet fun gameplay and a huge cabinet you could sit in and feel like you're driving an 18-wheeler, it was a hit in arcades like most of Sega's offerings were at the time. Hell, even its ports on Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and GameCube were still fun, even if it was just a controller and not a big truck cabinet. After a sequel, The King of Route 66, came out a few years later in arcades and PlayStation 2, there wasn't that many trucking games out there that gave the same experience 18-wheeler did. Well, I would say that. But around the same time King of Route 66 came out, developer Utechnics came out with their own take on the style with Big Mutha Truckers. An even more radical departure from 18-wheeler, where not only do you get to race big rigs across the county, you also do a bit of business management. I used to see this game on the store shelves all the time back then, and I was slightly curious about it, only because I liked 18-wheeler so much, but I always ended up forgetting about it. But, thanks to our good friend Stefan, we'll be checking out this down-home big rig racer as well as its sequel to see if it's not only Xbox collection worthy, but a suitable alternative to 18-wheeler. So the plot of Big Mutha Truckers is about as Oscar-worthy as you can get in a video game. Okay, maybe not Oscar-worthy. Perhaps a Golden Globe. Yeah, anyway, Ma Jackson is the owner of the very successful Big Mutha Trucker Company, who have been hauling goods across the Hick State County for years. After a very successful run, Ma decides she's going to retire from the company, but the question is brought up of who will run it. Well, Ma just happens to have 4 kids who all want to be the new owner, and Ma is having trouble choosing between them. So she comes up with an ingenious idea, a contest between the 4. Whoever can make the most money hauling cargo around the county will inherit the business. Now it's every Jackson kid for themselves. Let's be honest for a minute, with a name like Big Mutha Truckers, I wasn't expecting something grandiose in story, but this is a straight up truck driving game, so you don't need a ton of plot anyway. When you start the game, there's 2 modes to play. Starting with Trial by Truckin' mode, this is the main story of BMT, where you have 60 days to make a ton of cash to win the company. First, you choose which Jackson kid to play as. There's the Daisy Duke-inspired Bobby Sue, the redneck King Cletus, the older, larger Big Earl, and the slick ladies man Raucus. Though they really don't have their own attributes, it's more for just who you want to play as. Once that's out of the way, Ma gives you a small haul to deliver and some cash for gas and truck upkeep. Then the true challenge begins. And by challenge, I mean buy certain goods for cheap and haul them to a city that will buy them for a higher price, increasing your profit. When you reach a city, there's 3 places to check out. The store, where you buy and sell your goods. The garage, where you repair and refuel your rig, as well as purchase upgrades, customize your truck logo, and switch out trailers to suit what cargo you need to haul, and the bar, where you can get tips on high cargo prices, take on side jobs for extra cash, visit the Loan Shark for some money with interest, and play some video casino games. Once you're loaded up and ready to head out, you choose on the sat-nav where you want to go, with the occasional wager race popping up for a little extra money. And that's pretty much it. You go back and forth hauling cargo to make enough cash in 60 in-game days to win the company, like I said. All while your siblings are doing the same thing. Granted, there are obstacles in your way to try and stop you, like biker gangs who can climb on your cargo to try and destroy it, or cops who will try to arrest you if you raise enough attention. Though, that last part may not be such a bad thing, as smashing cars with your trailer can earn you extra money, especially if you build a big enough combo. Get one of those, and repair and refuel items can appear to pick up, which, considering that towns are the only place you can do that, it can be a big help. But the biggest enemy you're going to face in Big Mutha Truckers is, well, the game itself. Where to begin? Well, for starters, driving the truck is, well, it sucks. You're expected to swerve and drive an 18-wheeler like it's a car from the Fast and Furious movies, but instead it's more like driving a big heavy noodle. You'll swerve and sway along the road, making hitting other cars a given. Maybe that's why you get bonuses for hitting stuff. Also, buying and selling cargo is kinda confusing at first. Granted, when you're buying the cargo, you'll see these little triangles that let you know what's cheap or expensive to buy, depending on the color. Green for cheap and red for expensive, yellow sorta in the middle. But it's how you figure out where to go to sell goods for high prices that's kind of annoying. Like I said, you can get tips at the bar letting you know if a certain product is sought after in a particular city. The other way is visiting the BMT headquarters and checking the price history and seeing where the goods are selling for a high price. The only problem is this only works after 5 in-game days worth of trading on your end. But what about upgrading your rig? Surely that can help you, right? Well, yes and no. Each town has a level of upgrade you can buy that can boost your rig's fuel, storage, armor, and such, but the upgrades are so pricey that you'll be grinding cargo runs to get those upgrades. But at the same time, that dips into your overall cash to take over the company that you have to win in just 60 in-game days. And the day ends and begins anew when you leave a city or get arrested or your rig breaks down or runs out of gas, making time your biggest enemy in this game. Oh, and I forgot to mention, saving is a pain in the ass too. You have to exit the main menu, then save, then go back into the game. What a cherry on top. But even with all of these gripes blended together, I ended up being bored with Big Mutha Truckers overall. So much so that in order to try and inject some fun into this game, I checked out the cheats. There's your usual stuff like max money, no damage, super fast truck, all that stuff. And you know what? The game was still boring to me. Personally, I felt the reason that I was bored with Big Mutha Truckers was that I was expecting an arcade-style racer in the vein of Sega's arcade hit. And even from the cover art you get that feeling. Though, when you boot up the game, what you end up getting is a trucker business sim that tries to be an arcade racer as well. It just doesn't know which one to be more of. Visually, the cartoonish approach the devs were going for is a nice touch, especially considering how goofy and comical the tone is. The Jackson family is your stereotypical redneck gang, and the few characters you see are a cornucopia of people that may or may not be considered a wee bit offensive by today's standards. But you're mostly in your truck, so it's the outside world that you'll be seeing a lot of, and it's not too bad. There's a few different areas you'll drive through, from cities, towns, casinos, forests, and the mountains. Meanwhile, the other cars you'll most likely smash through are nothing special to look at. They're just fodder. As for audio, the music is split into different radio stations, ranging from rock, country, techno, and talk radio. And it's a decent mix of songs I've never heard of, with the exception of Steppenwolf's Born to Be Wild. With the voice acting, it's pretty dated and tries too hard to go for that crass humor that was all the rage back in the early 2000s. Don't get me wrong, I have sort of a soft spot for that old humor, but BMT just didn't hit the mark on it.
Well, hello there. Welcome to the Lucky Pierre. I'm Larry, your barman for the evening. Now, can I tempt you with one of our fantabulous cocktails?
Well, what you got?
Let's see, shall we? How about a naughty poodle? Or maybe an Uncle Monty? No? A sailor's hornpipe? Not your kind of thing? Well, I can personally recommend the pink oboe.
Thanks, but I'll just have a bottle of boxcar.
Now, there's something I want to show you.
Big Mutha Truckers has a neat idea. The problem is, like I said, it doesn't know what it wants to be, and ends up being two different things that, in my opinion, just didn't mesh well together. Or maybe they could, if the game had more development time. As it is, it's more of a chore to play that you probably won't get much enjoyment out of, especially if you want that 18-wheeler action. Even though Big Mutha Truckers isn't that great of a game, Eutechnics came out with a sequel in 2005 aptly titled Big Mutha Truckers 2. Truck Me Harder. Let's just see how this one turned out. This time around, Ma has landed herself in prison due to tax evasion, and thanks to having a CB radio in her cell, whatever. She asks her kids to go and bribe 6 of the jurors in her trial so that they'll vote not guilty, and she can go free. That's pretty much the story. But I'm already intrigued, as it's definitely a lot better than the first game's plot. In many ways. What stays the same is the gameplay. You still have the story mode and the mission mode from part 1, which I forgot to mention in the beginning. Mission mode is basically where you get to play all the mini missions you do throughout story mode. You're still hauling cargo from city to city, buying low and selling high, though there are many improvements made between the 2 years in development. First off is the buying and selling menu. Now when you're buying goods, you can check what's selling high in which city with just the press of a button, which is much more streamlined. Also, you can take multiple goods with you, as much as your cargo trailer can carry. By changing this, making cash is a lot easier on the player, and also makes upgrades a little more obtainable, like the new Nitro add-on. Adding on to the improvements is the removal of the fuel gauge. No longer do you have to worry about running out of gas, just truck damage. Oh, but wait, the good stuff just keeps coming. Truck controls are a little smoother now, though you'll still crash into things here and there. It is pretty nice that the right analog stick controls the movement of the trailer, allowing you to swing it around and smash cars. Now, I wanted to wait and mention this when I got to talking about part 2, but now there's also a mini-map to show where you go, as opposed to just having an arrow pop up when it was time to turn in the first game. There's also shortcuts you can take, cash bonuses for getting to the destination on time, along with the parking bonus, and extra distractions like hitchhiking hobos you can give a ride to for cash, as well as new obstacles to go along with cops and gangs, like UFOs and crazy vans that throw TNT boxes at you. Even more is the new side jobs you can take where you can drive other vehicles and the improved casino games. Now that's a lot to take in, but I've saved the best for last. There's no time limit. Since you're not trying to race to own a company, you don't have to worry about having to grind as much cash as you can in a short period of time. And trust me, 60 in-game days can go by pretty fast. Either way, removing this allows the player to enjoy the game and earn enough cash to get those upgrades as well as advance the story. Oh, and the game autosaves now, which is fantastic. Overall, Big Mutha Truckers 2 is a much better experience than the first, finally balancing the sim and the arcade feel into a nice mix. Regardless of all these amazing improvements though, if the idea of driving back and forth through the county, hauling cargo and making money to buy more cargo and haul it again, didn't appeal to you the first time, Big Mutha Truckers 2 isn't probably going to win you over. Despite its new arcadey bits, it's still a simulator, albeit a more accessible one. For presentation, BM2's visuals are improved with a bigger emphasis on the character models. And in some cases, I do mean bigger, though it's nice that the cartoon aesthetic is still intact. Most of the cast from Part 1 returns, and their stereotypes shine just as bright here. As for Hick County itself, it's received a graphical upgrade as well, looking a lot better than last time, and now with a few added areas like the Area 51 themed city. The soundtrack is again split into the same radio stations, with more rock, country, and talk stations this time around. And again, I didn't recognize any of it except the main theme, which is the classic song All Right Now by Free. Though apparently there are some licensed music in here, I didn't hear it, but just for copyright's sake, I'm not going to play any of it. The voice acting is more or less the same, though it didn't feel as forced as before. Don't get me wrong, it's still going for that old crass humor, but it wasn't as annoying for some reason.
Welcome to the gravy train. I'm Luann, and I'll be your waitress. I don't hold with this wait person or server bull. I'm a waitress. Always have been, always will be, knowing my luck. 'Cause ain't no man gonna look after me, no siree. Oh, they say they'll look after you till death us do part. Yeah, till you find him behind the opossum ice sculpture playing hide the hot dog with your chief bridesmaid. Boy, that sure sounds, sad. Yeah, save it, sugar. I got over it. I mean, I ain't the kind to complain about it or spend every waking hour fantasizing about getting my revenge. And every night dreaming about ways to get even with that no-good SOB and that floozy. I only asked to be a cheap bridesmaid because I felt sorry for her on account of her having a mustache and all. So anyway, what do you want?
It's safe to say that Big Mutha Truckers 2, while not an amazing game, is still leagues better than the first. Most of the glaring problems were fixed, making for a more playable and, more importantly, enjoyable experience for those who love driving big rigs. Or at least in a video game. There's no question, if you want to ride with the Jackson family, go with Big Mutha Truckers 2. Despite it being a better game, though, sales weren't that great, as well as critical reception, and there never was a third chapter in the life of the Jackson family. As for Untechnics, well, we'll be seeing more of their work here on the show at least a few more times. All racing titles, of course. But I can tell you one thing. They made Ride to Hell Retribution, and quite frankly, I don't know if you can recover from that one. Either way, this is the Dali Popka saying, as always, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of me and the Big Green, then click that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new content arrives. I want to say a special thank you to my patrons for helping not just the channel grow, but me as a creator. You have my forever thanks. If you're interested in the channel and would like to help it grow further, consider becoming a patron today. For the cost of a soda or an item on the dollar menu, you can help myself and the channel provide the best source of Big Green programming and more. Once again, all the thanks and love.